Boss Cup Event 6 just ended, and it gave us some very interesting replays to analyze. The level, Awake the Lion by Blaztek, also gave us some exciting disruption in the top 3. So let's check out the level, let's check out the replays, and see what went down. At first glance, this level looks very different from the previous few events, where the last couple of levels were more constrained, one style, more technical. This level is more open and sandboxy, and you actually have to find your style and make your route before you can start playing it and executing it to perfection. But before we go into all the style finding, I just want to take a moment to reflect on the visuals of this level. It's kind of a bold choice to go for this just 2 brick beams throughout the level, and honestly, I love it. I think it looks great. It felt good when you play it. I kind of like that the ground sticks up through these corners also. I know that Blaztek has done similar things in the past, but yeah, for me, it totally works. But for the purpose of style finding, we'll look at a little bit less cluttered version of what you're seeing right now, just to make it a bit easier to see what we're actually looking at. And this area to the right, we can kind of ignore because it's here if you need it, but spoilers, it's not going to be used that much in the level. Now this picture of the level is just lacking the start, but basically you're starting down here beneath the flower. A nice little bike here to represent maybe more a moped than a motocross. But since you're starting down here, you pretty much have no choice but to start towards the right. And since you already have speed, most likely you're gonna jump across here. I mean, you could break and go down for this apple, but kind of makes no sense. This is so close and you're already traveling towards the right. The question then is, if you're intent on taking these 2 apples first, since they're close to each other and in the same part of the level, you could either go here, come back, take this apple, and then go up towards the right, or maybe you can jump up towards here, or you can keep going towards the right, go down here, go around this way and come up here. It's hard to say by now which one of these styles would be faster. You can make a case for both, but either way, you're gonna end up with speed towards the right, whether you go with this orange or the yellow route. So just by the natural flow of the level, you're most likely gonna end up going towards the right, either up here or down here. Now, since you're traveling towards the right, the next goal would be these 2 apples to the right. And here you also kind of have to make a choice, just like in the beginning. Do you go for this long way around, where you then have to do some kind of push from this place up, take the apple and around? Or do you take the short route and go up here? And then same thing here, you're gonna have to do some fancy thing to get past this and then take this apple. And then the question would be also, if you take the long route, you have to go around because you have to first take this apple and then take that apple. But if you take the short route, you can either go up here, take this apple, go around, down, and keep your speed up this way, or you can go up, take this apple, and come back this way. Now, the downside of going the long route, obviously, it's that you're gonna spend more time driving around all this way, but if you're coming from this way, you can keep your speed after you take the apple and just kind of push around here and drop straight down, which could save you time. But regardless of which style you're choosing for this right part, you're gonna be coming with speed towards the left now. So that just leaves one choice, which is taking this apple. And the thing is, if you go on top of this polygon, you get kind of stuck up here. So the natural thing to do would probably be to hang this polygon to take this apple. And by then you've cleared everything on this part of the level, so you just have one more apple to go. So that leaves us with how to get from this apple to this apple, the last one. Now, since you're coming from the hang here, you're gonna have momentum up towards the left. So what would be the best, most likely, would be to be able to keep that momentum all the way, jump here, and then up towards the apple. But because of this angle here of the hang, and because this thing is sticking down here, that makes it actually very hard to be able to make this jump. If the roof wasn't here, or if this overhang was not here, it would be much easier. But so another idea would be to instead use these polygons to push down and let you land over here and then go to the apple. So you have 2 ways of getting here. You can go either the top route or the bottom route, where the top route might be doable, might not. Either case, it's very tricky to get around there. One added benefit though of doing the top route would be that once you get to the apple, you're gonna go this way, right? And if you're coming from the top, you actually can save your momentum. Whereas if you come from the bottom, you're gonna have to turn here and lose all of that speed. But yeah, basically that's the main idea for the level. Now there are of course other styles possible. With that said, the most likely scenario at least is that we're gonna see these 2 apples being taken in the beginning, these 2 apples gonna be taken next, the hang, and then last one here. Also because the flower is situated more to the left, so it makes sense to end on the left side of the level before you take the flower. But yeah, with all that said, let's see what actually happened. Now we'll be looking at the top 4 of this event, and 3 of the names shouldn't come as a surprise to you. It's JT, it's Mielz, and it's Zero, as always. But we also have Ramon in the top 4 of this event. And remember, Ramon is in the same team as Zero, and JT and Mielz are on the same team as well. So we actually have Team 420 and Team SpeedyF or Team SPEF in the top 4. Now, I will also spoil that the 4th place went to Ramon. So we'll start by looking at his replay, and that will probably give us an idea of what Zero was doing as well, since they're on the same team. Now, Ramon here starts towards the right, I mean, no choice there, and chooses to go for this top apple first. And like we maybe could guess, drops down to the second apple down here, right in the beginning, and then continues up towards the right, keeping that momentum from the start. Jumps here, and then let's see how he clears this overhang or outshoot. Very nice, clean, like olive vault from the floor to get some space and get past. Takes the apple and doesn't go the long way around. Takes this apple first, nice clean drop, and then goes for a hang. And then, yeah, going the top route very, very hard if possible. So he goes the bottom route, then takes the apple, turns like we would expect, and then nice push from the roof, and then flower. So yeah, very nice, very clean execution, pretty much what we could expect from this level. But from this 4th place by Ramon, there was a 2-second gap to the top 3. Ramon finished at 52.68. The next time, the 3rd time, is 50.65. So either these last 3 players have just perfect execution of the same style, or they did something different that Ramon couldn't pull off in his run. And without spoiling anything, I will also say that JT and Mielz have pretty much identical runs. They're never more than a wheel's length from each other, and therefore it almost makes no sense to look at both their replays because they're pretty much identical. I think it's just like the last 2 moves before the flower are different. So I will say that JT was a little bit faster than Mielz in this event. He was actually 0.15 faster in an almost 1-minute level. So we will be looking at JT first and see what does he do different from Ramon and probably Zero style as well. Now, JT starts towards the right again. I mean, no funny business going straight up. Also chooses to drop down. Same thing, gets some speed, jumps up towards the right. So far, so good. Pretty much identical to Ramon's. Let's see how he clears the crux up on top here. Little bit different style, gets a different kind of push here. Doesn't avoid the crux, instead of pushes from it. And straight down, little bit different kind of drop. And then hanging up here as well, not going on top of the polygon. But he manages the top route. It's much harder than it looks, I will say, because I've been trying that top route many times myself without success. So let's take a look at it again. I mean, the start is the same thing we've seen so far. This push here, a little bit different than what Ramon did, but I will say it's pretty much equally fast. But can get some more speed, and then also gets a little bit of a push there, but can gas sooner on the wall here. But then look at this kind of break push that he does in order to get this top style. Very hard to find these exact moves, but the break here and pushing, notice how close the head is to hitting the hang as well. And then just gassing here to kind of get out of that position as soon as possible. So you turn and gas on the underside of that corner. And then just about with some gas on the back wheel as well, manages to get the wheel around this kind of hook and gets the push out. Now, very tricky, much harder than it looks. He kind of just rolls off the hook there and gets up on top. So yeah, that's JT's time, and he was 0.15 faster than Mielz, so that just leaves Zero. So let's see what Zero did different from Ramon, and let's see if he could beat JT as well. So a little bit different start style actually from JT and Mielz, but I think in the end it saved maybe a few hundredths of a second. So not the main part of the level, but still interesting. But other than that, it's completely identical both to Ramon's wreck and to JT's. Let's see how he clears this overshoot. And yeah, same style as Ramon actually. So a little bit different kind of push, but pretty much identically fast. But wait a minute. Zero, what are you doing? Why are you jumping here? I mean, sure, you can build some more speed for the hang, but we saw from JT that you don't need more speed. He managed to clear it. And in fact, right now you're just losing because where JT went straight down, you're jumping. So you're just wasting time basically. So what gives? Well, did I mention the name of this level? This level made by Blaztek is called Awake the Lion. And at this moment, Zero did just that. Let's see that again. A huge bounce, clearing the hang, ignoring everything, and just still managing to get the push and get the top root with an insane bounce. And apple, flower, everything, a little bit different, but I mean, this crazy man just ignores everything. Jumps, gets the push, gets all the speed he needs, and then just flies like a lion, I guess. I don't know. It's just insane. It's just crazy. And then just beautiful end. But of course, that brings us to the question, which style was the fastest? I mean, I will be biased here and say that Zero style was the flashiest, but which style was the fastest? Let's compare JT and Zero, and we'll put JT in front. Now, you see already a little bit different starting style, as I mentioned, and you can actually see Zero pulling out a little bit ahead, like a wheel's length ahead from the start. Gets a little bit more push from this polygon here as well. And then let's see how their different styles of the overshoot compare. As you can see, different styles, but yeah, JT pulling ahead a little bit there, and Zero doing his crazy jump here. JT way ahead by now. Does the hang, and we see Zero catching up from the top. Is it enough? It's hard to say. JT is still a little bit ahead. Zero has a little bit more speed. Zero does a different ending, but it's JT. JT's time is the fastest, and JT wins event 6, Awake the Lion by Blaztek. And for being a level that is still pretty much one-styled, it's crazy to see how people can go about it so differently. They still had a different start, where Zero came out ahead, as you can see. Then they had a different mid here, where JT comes out a little bit ahead. He has a little bit more speed towards the left coming out of it. So you can see him passing here. And then, yeah, just Zero finding a style that doesn't even exist in the level, but being like 1 second behind to catching up. And then for it to end so closely. And even in the end, they had a little bit. Actually, the ending that Zero does here is kind of the same ending that Miels had when I said they had a little bit different, JT and Miels. But yeah, just a crazy event. Just insane to see how two players, or I guess two teams in this case, can look at the same level, take the apples in the exact same order, first here, then clearing, I guess both of them skip this, so they take these two, then the hang apple, then this last one. They take the apples in the same order, but still come up with so crazy different ways of doing it. Again, just the start here, Team 420 managed to find a way to actually save some speed in the first second of the level. And then you have the different styles here, where Ramon and Zero did the kind of low part here, whereas JT and Miels did the jump through the roof. And then, of course, I mean, who thinks of going high here just to bounce and fly across everything? But I mean, credit where credit is due. JT did the more, I would guess, normal style. It's at least a style that more people in this event chose to do after watching all the replays. I mean, Zero was the only person to do this bounce, but there were many people who did the kind of hang style. But JT performed it to perfection, and JT and Miels were the only ones to actually pull off the hang to the hook part and actually getting on the top route. It wasn't just about getting up here, it was also about getting up there and not lose too much speed and do it fast and getting into a good position for this corner here. And even in the end, different styles, either you could go up here, push down towards the flower, or you did low here to travel a shorter distance, but you don't get the push. Just really fun to see. I really like this event, and I will give a shout out to Barry P, who actually did a very different style. And we'll actually take a look at it. He was actually the 10th place, I think. But starting just the same, but not taking the bottom apple first. Going straight towards the right, and then doing the kind of Zero Ramon style here, Has a little bit less speed, so he has to do it a little bit slower. Less speed because he didn't take that bottom apple first. Nice push there. Then actually going on top and jumping up into this corner to jump straight down and doing the long drop to the bottom apple. Very cleanly executed. But then a little bit awkward here, maybe the fact that you have to kind of shuffle all your speed towards the left again. But he does it beautifully and manages to get a very clean end here as well. I would say it's a really great execution of this style. Unfortunately, the style itself is just a little bit slower, so he ended up 10th place with a 54. What's interesting is that Blaztek on the same team got 5th place, but he did the more normal route that Ramon did. And taking a look at it, here you have the final top 10. JT in top at 50.25. Nobody managed to break that 49 limit. Miel's right behind him, just 1500s after. And then you have Zero with his completely different style, just 0.25 behind. But remember last level where the difference between first and second place and second and third was like 1 second almost? I mean, here is maybe a more normal top 3, but then again, you have the gap from 4th place with 2 seconds, and this being the top route. Because whether you did the bounce or the hang, the 50 seconds came from doing the top route. And again, shout out to Barry P, completely different style. But yeah, very interesting level, very interesting replays. And to finish it off, I will just show you an aptly named replay by Zero, highlighting one of his missed runs. But credit where credit is due. JT won this event with a beautifully executed top route and beautifully executed replay overall. And again, that top route was not easy to do. It's just that this bounce was not easy to see. And here we see that failed run by Zero overlaid on JT's winning run, just to see what could have been. But I'm sure that JT also had faster runs that he didn't finish or that he messed up by the hang. So it doesn't really say anything. It's just fun to see and to speculate what could have been. But seeing this extra rotation that Zero gets in here and gets a little bit more push, and if he could have saved it, maybe it would have had more speed than JT has. Maybe it would have been harder to clear the next bump that you see coming up, but I guess we'll never know. Zero didn't make this run, JT did. And I guess this image is actually a more honest representation of Elastomania. And it shows that for every finish run, for every one cup, for every personal record in an Eternal, there's hundreds, if not thousands of runs that you don't see. And most of those runs were failed or escaped. And then you just get that one good run that actually matters. Thanks for watching.